Welcome to another edition of Frontier Opening Bell. I'm Temple Ashaju. On the program this morning, we have Chima Okadike joining us from Vetiva Capital Management in Lagos, Nigeria, and of course, Bosin Amofaye, Executive Editor here at Frontier Opening Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gracing this program again this morning. Let's look at the indices we follow across the continent, African continent. The Nigerian exchange was positive 0.14%. The BRVM stock exchange went southwards by 23 basis points. The Egyptian exchange in Cairo was also down 1.87%. And of course, the Nairobi Securities Exchange marginally down 0.02% on Tuesday. Johannesburg Stock Exchange was also down 0.48%. The Nigerian exchange was the only one that made some investors happy yesterday among the markets that we track actually here on Frontier Africa Reports. Let's move on down to the Eastern African community, where you have headlines coming in as well. The PMI for Kenya is out, trading water by 51.0 in June versus 52.5 in the month of May. EFG Hermes Kenya launches online trading platform. Uganda's got its first quarter current account deficit dipping by some $710.07 million. The M3, which is the money supply, was up by some 8.6% year on year. And you have Qatari's largest cattle farm, Baladna, eyeing Ethiopian market for some inroad. Vodacom Democratic Republic of Congo CEO Soussa is basically going to be heading Safaricom's Ethiopian unit. Bosen, we'll start with you and possibly get some input from Chima subsequently.
Yeah, I think I'll start with the Vodacom DRC CEO Soussa. Safaricom is going to bring all the best that it can get or that it has, and its team even look externally to make sure that the Ethiopian new business unit, which the licensing which they got in consortium with a few others succeed very well. The Ethiopian market is big; it's about 100 million people or so. So the market is quite huge, and there's a whole lot on the ground in Ethiopia, and Safaricom is not going to play with it. Remember, Safaricom is the guy to beat. It's the company to beat in East Africa, by the way. Now, stepping into in Kenya, by the way, and in East Africa, stepping into Ethiopia is adding another feather to his cap, in the manner of speaking. So they're going to bring all the best hands on ground to make sure that, yes, this business actually go well. I love the Ethiopian story about the Qatari cattle farm. We're trying to get a bit of that sorted out in Nigeria. Remember, Ethiopia and Nigeria are both rich in a lot of African countries, by the way, agrarian in nature with cattle or herders and what have you. And if we can continue to get acts together in the manner of speaking, we could begin to have a very rich cattle agro-industrialization that have benefited our folks in Europe, in the Netherlands, and in other places in Europe very well than the kind of a messy situation we've got ourselves into Nigeria. In Nigeria here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in the course of the program, Mokaya Eric, the Chief Executive Officer of Mwango Capital, joined us from Kenya. Thank you very much, Eric, for coming through. We've got the East African market headlines before us at the moment. Would you like to make your pick and just give us some analysis on them?
Yeah, definitely. I think the key thing which I read, I think the past 2 or 3 days is the PMI. I think which kind of gives you a little bit of a feel of how the private sector is doing. It seems like they've increased salaries, which was pretty interesting for the first time in the last 2 years. So since October 2018, this is the first time that the surveys indicate that they're actually increasing salaries, the private sector, which means that there could be some green shoots of the economy kind of bouncing back after the COVID issues last year. But also, this is a continuation of something else that I noted last week from Centum Re, who said that cash collections, I think, in their business is also doing well, which means that some consumers are actually doing quite well so far. But I think the major headline this week is, of course, increased taxes, excise duties on a lot of stuff, especially data, communication, things to do with things Kenyans use very often has gone up. So you can see things like this being reflected in higher fees for loans, higher calling charges, higher You can see also higher rates on data. So I think that's going to affect a lot of people. So I think those are the kind of key things I've picked up the past 2 or 3 days.
Okay, then thank you very much. We have also just been joined now by Agnes Guitar, who from the United Kingdom. Agnes, it's good to have you on the show this morning. Thank you so much for coming through. One of the key headlines that has not been touched on is the Ugandan current deficits, current account deficits, which has dipped to $710 million. Would you like to basically make your pick and give us some analysis if you also like to touch on that?
Thank you very much, Temple. The story on Uganda, forgive me if I haven't really read much on it, but I guess it's a sign of Uganda's sort of strategy post-COVID, but also perhaps, I guess, a rise in imports versus exports. I'm happy to give you an analysis later on in the day, but commenting on the PMI story, I guess, which has made headlines for us Kenyans, as you'd expect. I think this is in line with the economic outlook for the country, which is supposedly projected to grow at 6.6%. This is despite the COVID, the new COVID lockdown that have just been introduced. I think activities in the private sector is a sign of an economy that is quite resilient and looking towards recovery after, I guess, after a year of under a COVID crisis. But despite this outlook, despite the PMI activity at 51, private sector obviously have predicted a gloomy outlook for the next 12 months. I guess, as Eric points, it's an opportunity for everybody to tighten their belt. A lot of private sector workers have lost work. Latest data shows about 1.3 million Kenyans are out of work. And those returning to work, I guess businesses are just investing in the few, in the human capital, the resources they have, but also investing in production, which is a good story. The EFG Hermes cloth line looking to launch online. Interesting to see the Kenyans are spending despite the COVID crisis, despite being heavily taxed, as we saw in the headlines yesterday. H&M, which is mostly very affordable high street retailer, which is very popular in Europe. It's great to see them launching an online platform. I guess also this informs consumer habits of shopping online, which has sort of progressed in Kenya. Eric, I would have liked for you to comment on the new Vodacom DRC CEO Soussa, who is going to head the new consortium of Safaricom and Vodacom. I don't know whether you have some inputs on that.
Yeah, I think this is a positive thing. I think I was talking to a friend yesterday. One of the things that Vodacom do is most often pick an insider to head some of their strategic operations, especially new operations like this. So the DRC CEO, I think, has a background in having helped money markets, the money operations unit of Vodacom. So he's worked on that. He has a little bit of experience, and I think they're heading into a market where the incumbent, which is Ethio Telecom, is already establishing their roots in terms of money transfer business. So I think they have a target of at least in the next 1 year to bring on board around 21 million users. So I think they have a head start, and we do not know when Safaricom itself will start launching the M-Pesa money transfer in Ethiopia. But that means by that time, you need an experienced CEO who is able to handle this kind of thing. So I think this is a positive move in terms of taking an experienced person, taking them to a new market. And DRC is quite a tough market. So I think that experience will benefit Safaricom a lot. But looking forward also to the AGM of Safaricom later this month, so that we can be able to see, get a little bit more details on exactly what is happening there. And one more thing is that Safaricom has just released their annual report, which is usually released 3 weeks before the AGM. So it's available on our Twitter page at Mwango Capital. You can just find it there and have a look. So I'm also going to dig deep a little bit. One interesting fun fact I can tell you is that the new CEO has bought some, I think 800,000 shares in Safaricom itself. So some skin in the game, which is pretty positive. But sadly, no one else in the board of directors that kind of has as much shares or even that skin in the game, which shows you that he's putting his all into this Ethiopian and putting a little bit of his portfolio into this move towards Ethiopia. So pretty interesting to watch all in all.
Thank you very much, Eric Mukaya. I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Agnes, for your insights into those East African market headlines as well. Let's now move to the Western African and Nigerian headlines, where the Africa Development Bank has appointed Lamin Barrow as the DG Nigerian Country Office. BP, that's British Petroleum, set for drastic cut in Africa's investments and explorations. Governor Godwin Emefiele of Nigeria Central Bank says needs for varsity's industrial sector linkage. UAC Nigeria is paying 120 kobo dividend per share for the financial year 2020. Digital currency plans are at advanced stage, says the Bank of Ghana. And finally, Ghana Commodities Exchange mulls plans to trade in cash crops besides the grains that they currently just traded. Let's now launch you on the show this morning, Chima, with your thoughts on these headlines. You are the consumer goods analyst at Vetiva Capital.
Hi, Temple. Good morning. Thank you for having me. So just to run through the headlines as you mentioned, first is AfDB appointing Lamin Barrow. What I can say, I've not really followed the news as much, but what I can say is I know that he was sometime in October appointed as the acting senior director for the Nigerian office. So it must have proved, his worth for him to make the the DG for the Nigerian country office. Also for BP being set to drastically cut investments in explorations in Africa. I think it is very expected. We've seen a lot of these oil companies or oil firms stating such. It's not just them. And the expectation is that by 2050, reliance on fossil fuels would drastically reduce. I don't have the percentage at hand at the moment, and this is why the PIB is quite worrying for Nigeria, because apart from its timeliness, which a lot of people believe is 10 years quite late, although they have seen the need for the bill, many people believe it is quite late. Another point of worry for Nigerians in that bill is the setting aside of 30% for exploration. At a time where a lot of companies are moving, a lot of countries and companies are moving away from oil and moving into electricity and other forms of energy, we're having to set aside 30% for further exploration. I think it's something that we can look further into and decide to maybe use the funds to do some other sorely needed sector. Maybe looking to look more into technology or agree for something else other than oil. The one on MFLA saying versus industrial sector linkage is needed. I see some value in that. It's very useful given that universities are the final stage before individuals are sent off into the employment market. We know the situation of unemployment in Nigeria. Everybody got a rude shock in the Q2 20 unemployment results and the results that have followed since. So I think setting up individuals with the right skill sets, I think universities currently just teach individuals book knowledge. They don't really, and sometimes it doesn't really correlate with what is happening in the real world. So setting them up with the required skills that they would need to come into the real world, be it if they're engaging in entrepreneurship, or they're going out to become entrepreneurs, or they are going to work for established firms in established industries, then I think there's a lot of value in linking the real world activities with what is being taught in school. For UACN, I think it's very positive news to see. We know that the company has been loss-making for a while, and last year it was able to restructure, spinning off its UPDC holdings and selling them off to a different company. So it's nice to see that the company has turned profitable, and it's now rewarding investors that have stuck with them with a 120 corporate dividend. For digital currency news, I had thought this was for Nigeria, but it's nice to see that Ghana as well is planning to, engage in a digital currency. I think this is a new Bitcoin. Well, I think this is a new trend that we're seeing so far. We've seen that China has made significant progress in this, South Africa as well. The UK is looking at Bitcoin. Bahamas has Sand Dollar or Sand Coin or something like that. Cambodia as well. I think that in the next year, in the next 2 years, we should get a definite trend on whether this will hold or not. I also know that for Nigeria, the CBN has said that it is planning to do a testing phase for the digital coin by the end of this year. And while that may be good news, because there are a lot of benefits that can come with this in terms of monitoring financial activities and being able to intervene properly, I think we may need to take a bit more time to make sure that we have all the things we need to do properly in terms of infrastructure. While we'll be working very well for China, we know that China is well advanced in terms of technology and already relies heavily on e-payments. So they may have the infrastructure for it to move seamlessly, and they've been at it since 2014, right? I know that the CBN has maybe said something about this since 2017, right? But we only really heard of it last year when they banned cryptocurrency, or maybe even this year. So I think we may need to take some time to perfect what we're doing. Although it has great benefits in terms of financial system controls, we may need to take a bit of a breather to make sure we're doing the right thing. I think that's about it for me for the West African market.
Thank you very much, Chima. Thanks a great deal. Although the audio was a little bit not so clear, we struggled to hear you a bit more, but that's fine. Thank you so much for those insights. We can tell that a lot of the central banks are becoming more and more aggressive about liquidity in recent times, especially with the new trends of digital assets. Bosin, could you please give us some of the backstories that are left hanging, and then we move on to the South and Northern African markets?
I think Chima had pretty covered the whole lot of the footprint for West Africa and Nigeria. The commodity exchange story in Ghana is very good. The Ghanaians and the Ethiopians are moving very forward, very fast. As far as their commodities exchanges market is concerned, we're trying to move the needle as well here. But these guys are steps ahead of Nigeria. By the way, Ethiopia is clearly ahead. Ghana is looking to include the cash crops into the basket of what is tradable on that particular exchange. That is good news. I love every progress we're making on the market side, and I think we can just move on from there.
Thank you very much, Bosin. And moving on now to the Southern African markets, where Zimbabwe's new 50 Zimbabwean dollars notes is to be released today. Basically, that is intended to ease transactions. South Africa's alcohol industry wants 1.5 billion rands excise duty holiday. Malango Kabedi Mboyi is the first female Congo Central Bank governor. And Anglo Gold Ashanti appoints Alberto Calderon as the chief executive officer. GCR rating affirms Stanbic Bank Zimbabwe as A+, and outlook remains stable. Of course, we've got to be gender sensitive. I'll come to you, Agnes, with the first female Congo Central Bank governor. What can we expect from a woman? What women can do, or what men can do, women do better, actually. We know.
Absolutely, Tempo. I couldn't have put it better. Malango has a background in IMF, having worked in Benin and Cameroon. The president reshuffled central bank, DRC central bank, putting a woman in charge. I think this is, I guess, as a result of the IMF program of $1.5 billion. So certainly she will be instrumental in making the central bank autonomous and also making sure that IMF conditions are met, and therefore DRC is able to receive the support from the institution. But it's not just about a woman. It's a woman with experience. There wasn't any other man who could have done a job better than Malango. But certainly, and the president has reshuffled the central bank board with two other deputies, also with great experience. Way to go, I think, way to go. You have to have a woman leadership if you have to get things done, I bet you.
And that
Allow
speaks
me
more
to,
to gender inclusiveness. Thank you so much.
it's not about gender inclusiveness, it's about capability of the women. I think she was appointed for her expertise rather than the fact that she's a woman. Allow me to comment on the story on alcohol industry, which I like in South Africa. This is a result of lockdown. President Ramaphosa has suddenly stopped alcohol sales, and obviously the industry has complained, and they are demanding for a tax holiday. There is a story that they have gone to court. They are seeking legal advice to see how they can address this. In response, the government has said the fact that alcohol consumption will put a strain in hospitals where they're meant to be taking care of COVID cases. And COVID cases have risen in South Africa. There's already a lockdown in place as a measure for the government to try and curb the spread of the pandemic. But certainly this has an impact on jobs, has an impact on South Africa's economy, which was looking a little bit positive after prospect of it contracting by 7%. So this doesn't make it better. I do hope there is a resolution. I certainly don't understand how alcohol impacts, but response from the government is that they can sort of support hospitals to only cater for COVID-related cases.
Right. Thank you very much, Agnes. Eric, got one or two comments to make about these headlines in southern part of Africa. I mean, you got the 50 Zimbabwean dollar notes to be released today in Zimbabwe. You also have the South African alcohol industry story and a couple of others.
I'm very new to the Southern African market, so I usually let Agnes take the lead there. But it's pretty interesting to see female CEOs take the lead. So I think you need more of that. I think in Kenya we have Family Bank being the female lead also, which is pretty nice also. It's all in all, it's really good, especially for the whole of Africa, if ladies take up more roles in these banks and institutions of that we really highly admire. So I think that also kind of creates a kind of a feedback loop where more young ladies who see other ladies being leaders, then they want also to be the leaders in the future. So I think, and it's also proven, like at least from the kind of research I've read, that having more diversity in some of these boardrooms and leadership positions helps also in terms of idea generation and all. So I think overall, on a very high level, that's what I would talk about. But I'm not very familiar with Southern Africa, so I can't confidently give an opinion on some of the things.
No worries. No worries about that, Eric. Thank you so much. My bias will be too much speaking louder than I intend if I do not get the thoughts of Chima on this first female central bank governor. I mean, how much of that can you expect in Nigeria? Chima.
Well, I quite agree with Agnes when she said it wasn't really more about gender inclusiveness and more about competence and how she was put there based on her experience and her capabilities. I think that's what we should look more to. Well, it is it is great to include a lot more women in many of these decision-making roles and change-making roles. I think it's also important to note that we're not just putting women for the sake of putting women, we're putting women or, promoting women who are experienced and are able to make the changes that we need to see in such roles. So I think it leaves a lot to be desired in Nigeria, although we're making some great progress, I think. But I think there's still a lot that we can see to be done in Nigeria as regards your question. For the South African alcohol industry, like Agnes said, I don't really see how the alcohol drinking is really affecting hospital care for COVID patients. But I think it'd be quite interesting to put South Africa's data or South Africa's COVID data side by side with other African countries that have allowed alcohol sales to continue freely. See how much of an impact that has made. I don't have such data at the moment now, but I think it will be very interesting to see. And as to the claim for a deferment in tax holiday, I think it's only fair, right? If you're going to be placing a limit on sales of alcohol, it's just fair that you also place a limit on the excise duties that you have to pay, since we cannot sell what we produce, and excise duties are paid on production. So I think it's only fair to the industry that you make such concessions as well.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Chima. Moving on now to the Northern African leg, we have Egypt's PMI rising some 49.9 in the month of June versus 48.6 in May. That's some kind of an improvement there. Egypt's Magzab closes $40 million Series A rounds to expand the B2B business-to-business platform. BOA wins Best Trade Finance Bank in Morocco. Alain Ebobisse gets second term as the Chief Executive Officer of Africa 50. Tanga Medicals, first half 2021, turnover is up by more than 25%. Morocco's Yemi Finance Holding plans 1.824 billion CFA franc in Niger. Bosin, finish up for us before we close the show. We've got less than 3 minutes to the end of the program this morning.
Yes, Temple, thank you so much. Well, since you genderly excluded me from the Congo first female central bank governor story, I'm going to get back into that because, again, look, it's going to happen anytime soon. For Nigeria, if you ask me, I think after Godwin Emefiele, we should have the first female central bank governor in Nigeria. We already have the head of the debt management office for Patience Oniha. We have a finance minister who's currently a woman. We have a whole lot of women in the cabinet. So I think the central bank governor will just be an icing on the cake for Nigeria. Immediately after Emefiele is down, we should have the first female central bank governor in Nigeria. Let's have a bit of a really good change in that.
Bosin, are you conversing for Sarah
for Egypt? I think the big story right now is how the stock market is being. Well, I'm not going to go by names. You know, I'm a journalist, by the way. Whoever comes in, my job is to talk about what you do, not about who gets there. But as long as it's a woman, I think I'm a little bit gender sensitive moving forward. I think since independence, 60 years, we need a female first central bank governor. And Chima Okadike can just position, by the way.
I agree.
That should be the word best to choose. Okay. But basically, you talk about the North African market. I think the biggest story out of Egypt right now is that the tussle between Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan over the Renaissance Dam, $4.4 billion, is causing a whole lot of investors upset with Egypt right now. That's what Bloomberg is reporting, because Egypt is now saber rattling in the matter of the gas security forces ready to defend the territory and the region. I think that is not sitting down well with investors. So the stock market was severely punished yesterday for that. We'll see what happens again today. Egypt needs to watch this very carefully if we don't get a whole problem in that part of the continent. Congratulations to Alain Ebobisse. Ebobisse has been a very tough, intelligent, and very well-qualified individual to head the African 50, which is a subsidiary and arm of the AfDB. So he's getting a second term in office, and we say thank you for a job well done that is done so far with that agency created to intervene in a number of projects across the continent. Then you have the Bank of Africa, which won the best trade finance bank in Morocco. I think that's also good news. We want to see more of that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a job well done, ladies and gentlemen, for your analysis on the program this morning. Really well appreciated. From Agnes Guitar, partner at GBS Africa, based in the United Kingdom. Thank you so much. Chima Okadike, consumer goods analyst with Vetiva Capital Management. Appreciate your presence. Eric Mokaya, you joined us as the Chief Executive Officer of Wango Capital in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much. Bosin Omofaye, appreciate your editorial as well on these headlines coming in or coming out of Africa this morning. Thank you so much. This has been the show for today. I'm Temple Ashaju. We'll gather to see you again tomorrow. See you then. Bye for now.